Welcome to The People I Know, a philosophical podcast with and about the diverse people I've met over the years as an African-American thinker, dancer, all kinds of things. Today's very special guest is Ms. Antoinette Chanel. She's an author, business coach, and mother, among many other things. I hope you enjoy.
Well, hello, everyone. My name is Antoinette Chanel. I am, among other things, I am a wife and a mom. I also sometimes tend to write books, so that makes me an author too. Sometimes I'm a podcaster, and sometimes I am a business coach to people, which really is a lot of digital storytelling, believe it or not. That's what a lot of that is. But that's what I do, and it is so great to be here with you today, Joy.
Indeed, indeed. And as many of my guests, we've known each other for like 10, 15, 20 years, much of my life. And we've had many in-person conversations and adventures, but you and I have just met over the internet. So I don't know who followed who. Yeah. So God bless the internet. Very thankful to connect us.
Yeah.
Certainly starting with some wellness stuff, and then your business advice and whatnot has been great. The author of this book, Over My Shoulder, a book for Black girls, and one family member now has it in that household, and they've appreciated it. So it's great. You're great.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so glad that people are enjoying the book.
Indeed, indeed. And with this being the Black people I know, the Black women I know, let's start off with that question first. Why does being Black matter to you?
Being Black matters to me because representation matters so much to me and so many other people. And I like to use my Blackness to bring Black representation to areas where we might not have any. So in fields that I don't see a lot of other people who look like me, if it's something that is an interest of mine, I think, okay, well then maybe that's exactly why I like it, because I'm supposed to go into this field and show people that, yes, we're here too. And so that's been fun, but I will say it took me a minute to really learn that about myself. I think that's a really important part of Blackness too. I think that you have to kind of learn and grow into your Blackness somewhat because of the unique experience that we have here in this country, unlike any other nationality or race. Settling into your Blackness and figuring out what you want to do with it. I think that that's a part of the experience. And so for me, I know that I didn't always feel comfortable with standing out, but as I've gotten older, I've just kind of learned to roll with it because I tend to stick out like a sore thumb in a lot of places. It just is what it is. Like, girl, just get used to it. That's just you. Just smile and hey, hi.
Do you think that's part of the Black experience, the Black American experience, just sticking out in some way?
I think that adjusting to what Blackness is most definitely a part of the Black American experience. Simply because, our place here is a unique one. We know that we have ties to the continent of Africa and probably to the islands too, but a lot of us, myself included, are lacking the tools to really trace all of that back. And when I say trace, I don't mean just, oh yes, you're from Africa. No, I would like to know like which country, which tribe, where were my people at? That's what I would like to know. And, we don't really have the tools for that, at least not readily accessible. And so a lot of us are putting the pieces together for ourselves and after the fact. And so that means that, you're going to have a lot of different versions. You're going to have a lot of different perspectives too, but collectively you can sort of start to piece together what some of your history was and your lineage was. I don't know of any other groups in the United States that, maybe Native Americans, but, for the most part, when it comes to looking at our history and looking back at just where we came from and where all of this originated from, it's a little harder for Black people. And so we often have to build new foundations. And that means settling into traditions that we create for ourselves, and norms that we create for ourselves because it just feels good. But doing that takes a lot of courage, I think.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. And I was just conversing with a woman who's, ethnically mixed, but she's Indigenous and Black and Mexican. And she was saying, yes, definitely we have these similarities, Black people and Native Americans. And a huge difference is that, with her, she's able to go to her people and reconnect, try and find those lineages, recipes, those practices and all those things. Whereas Black Americans, it's like, even if we could touch back to where and who our people were, like most of those people are no longer alive or no longer around. Those things to do, those practices, we have to recreate, we have to create new things for ourselves. So I think that's a really good point you bring up. And to stay on this for a moment, because I'm not a parent, and so my friends who are, I just have so many questions for you all. When is it important for you? When is your Blackness important as a parent for your children?
Okay, so the short answer to that is
say that again. The short answer? The
short answer is all the time. All the time it's important. In as far as how you, because it sounds like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like you're also asking, how do you show up in your Blackness for your kids?
Sure. It's a very broad question.
Okay, awesome. Well, I'll move in this direction just because that's something that I have had to give a lot of thought to, especially in the last year or so. And something that I tried to be intentional about when I decided that I wanted to have kids. So I think that in any relationship where you have parents who are of different races and ethnicities, I think it's always important that they maintain their individuality in that, and that they share that with their children on an individual basis. Like, it doesn't have to be a thing where because daddy's talking about his Jewish roots, that means that mommy's Christian roots are not important. Like, that's not, please don't do that. Like, we don't need that happening at homes. Like, that's happening in so many other places. We don't need it happening at home. So, but yeah, I think that, for myself, I know I wanted to get very clear on what my Blackness meant to me and what that meant about my parenting and what I would be leaving to my children with that. And with that, the main conclusion that I've come to is that I want my children to understand that Blackness is something that is beautiful and worthy of fighting for. It is something that they should be proud of, and it is something that without it, this country, the United States, would not be where it is today. It's definitely a pillar in this country's history. People can deny that all they want to, but you know the truth. So just accept that part. And so those are the main messages that I like to impart to my children. And then with the events that happened at the beginning of last summer with the killing of George Floyd, and, everybody had kind of had enough at that point. The weather was getting warmer. And so, we had a lot of protests and clashes between civilians and the police on the basis of unfair treatment of minorities. And, I still want my kids to be kids. I want them to have a childhood and get to grow up and be innocent and have fun and stuff, because quite frankly, once those days are gone, they're gone for good. So I'd much rather that they get those for as long as possible. But I did let them know that, hey, there are people in this world who believe that because my skin is dark, I shouldn't get to exist. I shouldn't get to be married to your father. I shouldn't get to have children like you guys. I shouldn't get to do a lot of these things. There are people who believe that. And to those people, we peacefully protest to send the message that your opinion and belief is not the only one that's here. There are other people who are here. And as long as we are here, you can't have your way. You can't make it so that, all dark-skinned people have to suffer or do not get to have the same types of liberties. So that's how I explain it to them. And outside of that, though, I would say that Blackness is really fun to share with kids. It's really fun to show. It's so much fun to show your kids old videos of Michael Jackson dancing.
All right.
I enjoy it. You know, my kids, my mom loves to cook. And so because she's nearby, they love to cook and bake with grandma. And she has my grandmother's recipe book that she shares with them. So that part's fun. We also make room for my husband and his culture. My husband is German. And so we make room for German traditions too. But I have a partner who is not threatened by the fact that I am proud to share my culture and my heritage. And I'm proud to defend it. He is also proud to defend it. And that we stand 10 toes down in that consistently. I'm sure that your other friends with kids will tell you that consistency is so key. Yeah. And that area is not exempt. You have to be consistent with that too.
Yeah. That's nice. That's I hadn't thought about, like, okay, if I have children, particularly if I'm with a partner who came with a different background, like what it would mean to share someone like Michael Jackson.
Yeah. And
or something like fried chicken.
Right. Yeah. So my husband, you know, being that he was interested in me, he was sort of following a lot of Black culture and stuff. He wasn't raised in the United States, and so he's not up on everything, but he moved here in, I think, 2000. And so he said he used to watch Living Single.
All right.
Okay, so
that's a good one.
You want to know the truth? I'm gonna tell you the truth right now, like truth bomb.
Yes.
This is how I knew that he was a real one, like that he was really into me. He told me that his favorite on Living Single was Max.
Oh.
Right? Like, okay.
Maxine.
Yes.
Okay.
Like mine too.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, we had to talk about that before we had children. I said, you know, I want that to be something that is equal. We share both sides with our children. And he said, yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't have it any other way. So, I mean, I know you didn't ask for dating advice or anything. This is not a dating show, but if you are considering dating somebody who is of a different ethnicity, different race, different background from you, just make sure that everything's on the up and up as you head into the relationship. And if it's not, that's okay. You guys can decide that, hey, we're not best to be a couple, but have those honest conversations with that person. Otherwise, you're going to get really disappointed later. If, you know, suddenly you've had this child and we didn't talk about how we were going to address culture with our family. Right.
Yeah, that is really good advice. I mean, of course, it's good advice for anybody dating anybody, that you need to talk about how you're going to bring up your upbringing and things that are important for you. But especially if you come from polar, you know, these very different backgrounds.
Right.
Which kind of leads into the next question of why or when does being Black not matter for you personally or professionally?
Okay, so I think I'm still trying to figure that part out.
Okay. It's turning into a tougher question than I anticipated.
Yeah, okay, so sometimes I feel like I bang the drum too much around my non-Black friends. Like, they probably getting tired of this, you know?
Yes. Yeah, the listenership for this season is I'm not sure, because I have a lot of white friends, white peers and whatnot who have been loving the show so far, loving this podcast. And then I'm realizing that, you know, the things that I talk about when it's just Black people in the room are a little bit different. The tone is a little different, and it's still for everyone's ears, but
yeah,
I'm not sure.
Yeah, you're gonna hear some things a little different than how Yeah. I totally get it. I was with, so my husband and I were actually out on a date with another couple. This was like maybe 4 months ago. And we really like this couple. They're good people. The guy is someone who used to work with my husband. And we were just sitting there having a really, really good time. And I don't know how we got onto the subject of ancestry, but I basically talked about what I just mentioned a few minutes ago about how it's harder for Black people to trace their ancestry, you know, like the commercials for like the DNA kits and whatnot, those are probably not going to cut it. You need a specialist to really get the specific details that you want in that. And, you know, I personally view that as unfair because I feel like, why should we have to even go through that trouble? If y'all would have just left us alone, then we would, you know, like that's the only reparation that I really want, to be honest.
Yeah.
Can you just tell me what my lineage is, please? Like,
yeah.
For me. But we were having this conversation and I could tell that my husband's friend was feeling, I mean, he wasn't trying to deny that what I was saying was true, but I could tell that he was feeling like, gosh, you know, like at what point can I put some of this down? You know, at what point is it finally going to be made better so that, you know, so that they can feel better and so that we don't have to carry around all of this residual guilt anymore. And I inferred all of this from his body language and his expression and his tone and whatnot, but I could just tell that, you know, the struggle is something that we have to live in. Like, we don't really get a choice. We have to live in it. They don't. They have that privilege. But I would say that being Black doesn't matter when you're just hanging out with people who love you for who you are and who you can be safe with and who are not trying to take anything from you, who are not trying to make you be something that you don't want to be. Those are the people who love you. Those are the real ones. And so therefore you don't have to remind them that you're Black because they already know. They see your Blackness.
I think you've really touched on something. When we're in environments around people and in spaces where people aren't trying to take things from us, aren't trying to make us things that we aren't, people are just trying to love us. And I think it's really important because sometimes, and the most experience I have with this is when I was dating, is when I'm with somebody who's not Black and they think that bringing up or liking me because of my Blackness, because of my brown skin is a compliment. And it's hard to explain, or liking me because I'm built a certain way, and not understanding how that is taking away from other people, how that's putting down kind of themselves, how it's doing something other than just loving me. I mean, I do expect my partner, I do hope that my partner loves me for being built this way, but it's not like I'm an exception, like I'm a token.
Right.
And so I think that's really important for people to understand that they're taking something or plucking something out of my whole identity and holding that up like as my entire identity. And that's why we can't just like be friends. Like, no, that's why I'm bringing this up, because there's something that you're doing or not doing.
Right. And something that I've come to learn too is that some of those people who do that, they don't even know what they're doing. And so once you point it out and you let them know that, hey, when you say that, it's like you're reducing me to just this. And I want you to like this about me, but I want you to like the other stuff about me too.
Right.
So, yeah, you know, and then once they're made aware, you know, they likely won't. The ones who really do love you and who care for you, they won't do that anymore. And I don't know about you, and I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but I know for myself, I was always forgiving, but I've become a lot softer in that area because I'm trying to allow for more opportunities for teaching people better. And what I was finding is that when I would respond with, you know, like because that's what I'm feeling. you know, I would get like oh, okay, I'll just leave her alone kind of a thing. And it's like, okay, no, I wasn't trying to squash the whole relationship. I really was just trying to point out that there's something that you're saying right now that I don't know if you intend for this, but that's what's happening. And, you know, so I have adjusted my demeanor around these things because 2020 taught me that there are several non-Black people out here who really do want to learn, but they also don't want to be berated as they learn. And I think that maybe we had too much of that happening in the past, and I'm not faulting anybody. You know, I'm not faulting anybody for their emotions, especially over that. If you were upset, be upset, boo.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that as we move forward, I'm trying to create an environment where people who want to learn can do so.
Yeah.
Safely. Because I think that's the only way we're going to get out of this.
So moving forward into learning and how we learn and what we're learning, philosophy and critical thinking. So you can take one or both. Is just how this is most relevant in your personal or professional life, your world, why you think philosophy is important, why you think thinking critically is important. Excuse me, and go.
I'm loving this interview right now, by the way.
Trying to make philosophy fun. I mean, it's really serious shit, but like, and things can get heavy like at the drop of a dime. But you know, that's the absurdity of life.
Okay, so I'm gonna focus on the critical thinking aspect of it, because that's where I tend to. I think critical thinking and philosophy are heavily related. I would say that with my experience and what I've done, I tend to hang out in the critical thinking realm. My friend, I know that you have a degree in philosophy, so totally understand. And like I said, they're very connected. So there's a bridge between this for sure. Okay, so I mean, I can't really think of where critical thinking isn't important in my life. I mean, I have to think critically about my kids when it comes to, you know, how am I going to set up the day? How am I going to break this news? One of the hardest things of 2020 was having to break the news to my child that you can't go back to your school. Your father and I would feel better if you were at home learning than if you were at school learning. And so therefore we want you to stay home because we want to keep you safe. That was really hard to do when you have a social butterfly child like mine is. I mean, she was so upset, and it was all our fault, you know, because we're the ones bestowing this bad news upon her. And so I told my husband once they made the call that they were going to offer digital learning for the fall, I told my husband, all right, let's sit down and get our game plan together for how we're going to break this to her and how we're going to make this something that she can buy into. So Tuesdays and Thursdays, the schools give out free meals. Let her know we're going to go up to the school and get free meal every Tuesday and Thursday so you can at least see your school. You know it's still there. Maybe your principal will be outside, you know, like just, but we have to do that for her because, I mean, think about it. Think about when we were in the second grade. Think about if our mom just came in and was like, you can't go back to school and you can't see any of your friends. You have to stay in school because it's dangerous. Like we would have thought a bomb went off. Like, exactly. Yeah.
The world does not exist anymore.
Correct. And so I told my husband, that's how we have to approach her because that's what she's feeling like right now. She's had a whole lot of stuff taken away from her after being told that she had been good and that she was going to get more stuff. So, yeah, exactly. So,
just to interrupt you for a moment, appropriately, I hadn't thought, so there's so many parents who are saying like, this has been rough. This has been rough on our kids. And it's been very vague, and I'm not in parenting circles, so I don't know all the memes and articles and all whatnot that's been written. But it's like, okay, yeah, I guess this has been really rough on kids. But like from a psychological standpoint, like that's exactly what you're not supposed to do. Like you have somebody who's doing really well. You've got these like positive, like these incentives and these rewards, and then you take everything that they love away.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and she asked us at one point, she's like, am I being punished? And we were like, no, no, you're not being punished. But I mean, so she asked us that at the end of the summer. And then we had the fall, and COVID numbers just continued to rise. And then we didn't get to have fireworks at the local park here this year for New Year's Eve. And that's something that we really do look forward to. I mean, it's a park in Gainesville, Florida. No one's heard of it before, but they do a 30-minute free fireworks show, and that fills us up for the entire year.
Yeah, that sounds great.
It is great. And we didn't get to go to it last year. And, that was hard. I threw a tantrum about that, and I let myself, because I was really, but here's me and my family, and we're following the rules, and we're being safe. And, where's our reward? Where's our fireworks? I felt that way about it. And I didn't stay there for long, because quite frankly, a lot of what's happening in our world is people staying in the, well, I want, and we need people to get that. So, I mean, I sat in there for like maybe a day, and then I moved on from it. But yes, it's definitely difficult on the children. I mean, think about the kids who were supposed to graduate, who were supposed to walk in 2020, and they didn't get to. I mean, I don't know about you, but I remember my graduations. I acted a fool, and you couldn't have told me otherwise, okay? I would do whatever I wanted, okay? Because it's my graduation day, okay?
It's a very important day. Got new shoes for that? I remember the shoes I was wearing that day.
Oh, yeah, you went about a whole outfit for that.
Yes, yes. Every graduation.
Okay, and rightfully so. That is your moment.
Yes.
The class of 2020 got robbed, and I do feel bad for them. And so, definitely. And I mean, you asked me for examples in my entire life. That's just one example of critical thinking in my parenting.
Yeah.
When it comes to my book that you have behind you, I had to do a lot of critical thinking with that too, because there were a lot of people who tried to discourage me from publishing that book. There were people who tried to take advantage of me in the publishing of that book in order to take the rights to that book for themselves. Yeah. So ultimately, I made the decision that, you know what, this message is too important, and I'm just going to put it out. And so I independently published that book. I didn't wait for any publisher to get back to me. But, that was, I had to learn about being an independent author, an indie author. And I also had to learn that, Antoinette, if you've got something to say or you've got something to give people, girl, just give it. Say it. You don't need some guy in an office 500 miles away to tell you that it's okay after you pay him $1,300. Girl, just
to tell you that it's okay.
Yeah, to tell me that it's okay. Like I need a permission slip or something. No. You know why you wrote this. The book is finished now, right? You got the art, you got the words, it's put together. People can hold it in their hands, sell it.
Yes.
Put it out there and sell it. And so, I mean, I'm oversimplifying the indie publishing process right now, but ultimately that was what I had to do, was decide that, you know what, I don't need Penguin to decide that my message is important. I have decided that the message is important. And so therefore it's going out, and the people who need it will get it. Just like you have.
Yeah.
Everyone who needs that book has gotten their hands on it. And that's all that I ask for.
Yeah. I'm making notes here on two things that you've brought up regarding critical thinking with these two examples. And the first one is that it was really important for you to make a plan. And in that plan, you're accounting for what your daughter was going through. And then, you could move forward instead of just saying, this is what we're going to do. And then, whoa, things would have blown up in your face.
And then
I think people don't really consider that.
And then the subsequent, well, this is the way it's going to be. And I said it and I'm your parent. I don't like that. I don't like that. I prefer not to raise my children with that. And so, yes, having a plan is super important.
Absolutely. And then also if you want to do something, figure out how to do it. Or if you need to do something, figure out how to do it. These two things are very simple, but that's what critical thinking is.
Not easy though.
No. Making a plan isn't easy, and then acting on what we want or need to do, figuring out how to do those things. Right. But sometimes that is just what needs to be made really clear. It's like, wait, why am I feeling stuck right now? Well, because I'm not making a plan for how to get unstuck. Mm-hmm. Why aren't I doing what I want to be doing right now? Because I haven't figured out how to do what I want to do, or I haven't figured out what I want to do.
Right. Yeah. And see, so many people are stuck in that. They're still in the gap. They're still in the, why am I not fulfilled? They haven't gotten over here yet to the, because I'm not fulfilling my passion. I'm not doing what it is that I am meant to do. What am I meant to do? Well, let me figure that out. A lot of people have not made, like those little maze things that we used to do.
Yeah.
Kids, like they're still up there. The little thing, the little cards with the ball, and you had to like move it around to get
yes.
That's where they're at. They're way up at the top, and you gotta get into the center of the circle.
We can always come back, but I feel like this is a good transition point to talk about what advice do you have for people with existential dilemmas, or you can even talk about how you deal with existential dilemmas, because I think that's really exactly what you said. This is where many people are right now. So how can they deal with that?
Well, okay, so I can only talk about what worked for me, but what worked for me was talking to other people. Because you cannot see the entire picture when you are in the frame. And so when you talk with other people about what it is that you're stuck with, or what you're trying to do, or what you would like to see happen, they are able to make observations and connections that you wouldn't have seen, because you're in the scene. You're not actually looking at it from the outside. And don't feel shame. You don't have to feel shame for being in an existential crisis. Like, honey, the whole world is in an existential crisis. Like, please don't feel ashamed of that. We got a president, a lame duck president right now. He's having him a big old existential crisis.
It's like, the last day.
Right, girl? Yes.
By the time people are listening to this, well, who knows what will have happened, but
we're really hoping for just a peaceful transition and a regular old Wednesday, please.
Woo. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, whether or not he is expressing that's what's going on with him, it absolutely is. Like, well, this is the life you've made for yourself. This is the foundation you built, and that foundation isn't looking too great. So
yeah, I mean, you really can take, politics completely aside from this, you really can take some excellent cues from watching Number 45 right now, because you don't ever want to build yourself up onto any sort of a platform or pedestal that can't be taken down. If you decide you want to switch directions and switch course, leave yourself wiggle room to do that. I believe that part of the reason why he's having the trouble he's having is that once you gas up the masses like that, you ain't really gonna get them to, you gotta like give them something. Like they want $500 cash, like hand it to them or something, they're expecting that. And to be honest, I am not excusing the Capitol riot in any means, but those people said that they were acting on their president's wishes. he was the president at the time and he was telling them to do this. I mean, it'll be really interesting to see what the law does with all of this because
yeah, I'm very curious from a critical, from a political, legal, like the actual academic, on the books, the word, the verbiage. I'm very curious what these words are going to look like next to each other.
Right. Yeah. Like I'm getting my Mother Goose reading glasses ready for it because it's gonna be interesting. So,
you do bring up a great point, though. Politics aside, if we want to change careers, something my mother always told me is, well, first of all, don't quit one job before you have another, and then also don't burn your bridges. If you are going to need a reference, don't go asking somebody that you pissed off. Right. If you want, especially in this day and age when we can just look on, not even social media, just you can be Googled. So any presence, any impact you've made on anybody who knows your name, that is available and probably public information. And so if we want to move forward, we really have to be careful about what our past has been and what our presence is doing.
Right. And in doing that, do realize that you can make the change whenever you want. You can decide, I'm going to leave that behind. I'm going to be a different person at any time that you want. But yes, you will want to be mindful of the fact that with the internet, there's kind of a printable transcript of like everything that we are all tied to, that we're doing, that we say, that we buy. I mean, it's all right there. And so just be mindful of, my mother always used to tell me, the people that you see on the way up are the same ones who if you fall down. And so, you may not want to, you may not want to burn bridges. And I believe that in the case of number 45, he stepped into a job that he had never done before. And so right off the bat, I think that there were a lot of things that probably got off on the wrong foot. And then once it was clear that we were off on the wrong foot and he was made aware, because I know there were people around him telling him like, hey, you might want to calm down. Pride got in the way instead of logic. And that's unfortunate because, this is going to be an ugly end, I believe. It'll take some time, but it'll be an ugly end. He committed treason.
Yeah. We don't want, well, if you do want an ugly end, then go for it. There's plenty of strange novels to read for that kind of fodder. But if you do not, if you happen to be the type of person who is concerned about how the direction your life is going and managing negativity and like literal and figurative fires, then perhaps don't use 45 as an example of what to do. But really more importantly, think about how you're thinking critically. That is what I'm hearing you say.
Don't be afraid to call yourself out and say that, hey, I was wrong about that. I needed to do better, because that's thinking critically too. You can't just say, well, it couldn't be me. It could never be me. That's not critical thinking. That's completely biased. So you have to be willing to turn that critical gaze onto yourself. I would say first and foremost. And be comfortable with that, because other people are definitely going to be critical of you. And, you can choose whether to be offended by that or take it personally or not. But I think that if you are someone who can be honest with yourself and who can be critical with yourself, not to the point of tearing yourself down, but for the purpose of improvement and self-awareness, then that's a much better way of being, I feel, because you build in room for your own mistakes. You build in room to grow and change. You just build in room to be a human.
Yeah, I like that. That's all of my official questions for you.
You have any questions?
No, not today. I probably some things that I hadn't written down. But is there anything else that you would like to share with the world, with anybody who's watching or listening, about yourself, about what you do, just anything in general? Any last words of wisdom?
So I would say to anybody who's listening to this right now, don't hold back on your talents, on your gifts, on what you have to offer to the world. Don't hold any of that back. Part of the reason why I know Joy is because I found her when I searched pole dancing Instagram hashtags. And I was like, who is this? And I got to see her art and I got to see her performing. And I was just so impressed and just, inspired. I took pole dancing for 2 years. And so to see someone else who also looked like me, who was pole dancing and doing a damn good job of it, I was like, hey, sis, yes. But I wouldn't have been able to do that if she had been holding her talents back. And so if there's something that you are good at or that you're passionate about, whether it's a book that you want to write, or it is a business that you want to start, or it's simply a cause that you feel passionate about and so you want to get involved in it, go do it. There is no better time than the present. I think that when we were growing up, a lot of us were lulled into thinking that things like protests and racial violence and political corruption and deadly diseases that people can't figure out. I think that we were brought up to think that those were all things that happened like way back in the past. And so therefore we've moved on from it and we live in this utopia now and it's all unicorns. And I'm here to tell you that no, it's not. We are living in the history books that are being written, okay? In like 30 years that the kids are going to read, that's what we're living in right now. And so do not hold back because your time to make your mark is now. This is an important time period, an important time to be on this earth. And you shouldn't hold any of that back from the rest of us. We are better people for what you choose to share with us, your talents, your gifts. And so make 2021 the year that you get your talents out there in front of people. If you like to draw, post one of your drawings onto your Instagram this year and see what people say. Even if they don't like or comment, they're still seeing it. Don't base your value on that. But yeah, that's what my 2021 is going to be about, making sure that I am taking the action now and that I am following through on a lot of the things that I said that I wanted to do, but I said like, oh, I'll do that in a few years. Why in a few years? Why can't you do it now? So yeah. I would encourage others who are listening to come with me on this journey because there's no better time than the present.
Yes. Wonderful. And for you specifically, how can people contact you and how can people join you or include you in their journeys? I'll also include this below the video and on YouTube.
Thank you. You can write to me at hi@missantoinette.net. That's MSANTOINETTE.net. Also, you can follow me on Instagram at Miss Antoinette Chanel. So you just got the Miss Antoinette part. The Chanel is just CHANEL on Instagram. Also, I have a Facebook page, Miss Antoinette Chanel. I think that I've got the URL for that. I might not. I'm not sure. But you can find me on Facebook too. I'm also going to be launching virtual happy hour coming up. I thought I was going to launch it this Thursday, the 21st. I think I'm going to have to postpone until February because I really want things to be nice. I want people to show up and have fun. I want this to be a place where you can let down, you can play some games and win some prizes, and you can just have a good time because I know we can't all go out right now. So I wanted to make a space where you can kind of feel like you you come to a place where maybe not everybody knows your name, but they're going to be able to Zoom. So yeah, everybody is going to kind of know your name. You can hang out and just have a good time and hopefully meet some more people who maybe you can form a connection with and have some positive communication at a time like this.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Antoinette. Thank you so much for your time, for your energy, for you. I mean, personally, I don't know if you know what you do for my soul, for my heart, but professionally for doing this, which is all the things. Thank you so much.
Yes. You're so welcome. And thank you, Joy. I feel the exact same way. I'm really glad that we were able to become friends, not just following each other, but we actually are friends. I love this. And thank you so much for inviting me on your show.
Indeed. Indeed.